Today I wanted to touch on a topic that's near and dear to all of us, and that is how do we develop our personalities, our character, and how does that relate to our personal happiness and the meaning and the sense of fulfillment and satisfaction we feel as humans. Basically, we can separate the factors that go into the building of personality and characters in simplistic ways. We have, of course, what we were born with, our genes, our nature. And this is our DNA. This means that we are born with certain instincts that are powerful and that certainly control our behavior and our thoughts, and subsequently how we develop as humans. Secondly, and along right with that, are our personal experiences, or the experiential nature of our development, and that depends on, each of us has totally different series of or sets of experiences, and this in turn influences how we perceive our perspective and how we perceive ourselves. And thirdly, perhaps the one that's most interesting and probably the most powerful is the social component, or the peer pressure component, or the cultural component, which basically has the society dictating how we develop, how we think, how we feel, how we should, and the strong pressures of conformity, meaning that we should line up and be good little soldiers in the culture, whatever culture we're born into. Now, if as individuals we do not take control of how we develop, then by default our nature, our DNA, our experiences, be they good, bad, or indifferent, and the culture will develop our own sense of identity, our own personalities by default. And this may or may not be in our best interest, and often I think in the modern angst society what we're seeing is that people are not content with the way this works out. However, once that's established, it's virtually impossible to change. With the only exception of perhaps trauma or this absolutely intense desire to improve or change, it's kind of a little too late, day late, dollar short sort of thing. This is why you see increasingly more people that are rigid in their thinking. As they get old, they become bitter, remorseful, unhappy, and they feel left out, and their lives are empty, and so forth. Part of this, if you look back on the evolutionary perspective, is that 5,000, 10,000 years ago, the life expectancy was 25 or 30 years. At the beginning of the 20th century, particularly with the introduction of antibiotics, the life expectancy shot up in the first world up into the 70s. People didn't die with infections as nearly at the rate at which they did before. So as we have increased our lifespans, our longevity in terms of how long we live, we certainly have not been able to develop or evolve on a massive scale how we develop as human beings beyond that. And this is a fascinating topic. It affects all of us, and I think what helps is if we begin to understand this is how we develop or don't develop, then we can perhaps begin to understand how we can make changes or improvements to our lives to lead better lives, more fulfilling lives, not necessarily totally different lives, but not lives that are nearly as depressing or empty or lacking in meaning as so many people appear to be living today. So thanks for watching my channel.